So let's talk remote teams again, and specifically how to leverage Scrum within fully distributed and remote teams. Any thoughts there? Any advice on how to properly deploy Scrum methodology?
Yeah. I co-author. So I'm gonna jump a tangent a minute to. I co-author the study of product team performance, and since 2012, we've been surveying people on teams all over the world to find out to learn some really interesting stuff. One of them we asked about stand-ups, and what we found. So what we do is we first ask people on teams, characterize your team. Is it high performance or low performance or something in between? And then we ask them about practices. And do you do this? How do you do it? What are your elements of? So we asked about stand-ups. And what we found was that those teams that do not do stand-ups correlate with the lowest performance teams. Those teams that have effective stand-ups don't by themselves correlate with the highest performance teams, but as the frequency of stand-ups increases until they're daily, the performance of the team increases. So it's a linear relationship, and the highest performance teams have effective stand-ups daily. Now the then question is, what's an effective stand-up? And when there's this the Scrum guide did us a real disservice by saying, oh well, the stand-up's about these three questions, because the three questions, much like most Scrum practices and most Agile practices, they're there to support the mindset and the values and the teamwork and the magic. And the three questions aren't unimportant. It's just that they're not enough. And if they're just three questions, then we can throw it into Slack and it's just a status meeting and we can just throw status back and forth. And in fact, a stand-up is intended to be a 12-minute or a 15-minute replanning meeting. It's intended for the team to be able to come together and okay, so if software development's a team sport, maybe we ought to actually talk to each other at least once a day. And it's meant for the team to talk to each other once a day, and actually have the conversation around how are we doing on our sprint goal, and it's inevitable that we'll run into challenges. Can we fill in the gaps for each other and have each other's backs so that we can still complete our sprint goal? Or and maybe all of us are challenged. Maybe we've bit off more than we can chew in this particular sprint because everything turned out to be challenging, or one thing turned out to be enormously challenging, and we need to pare back. And our product owner can, at this point, a couple of days in or a few days in, make the decision of which thing not to do and ensure that we're delivering the most valuable stuff in this sprint. And that only happens when we actually talk to each other.
That's super interesting. For us, stand-ups are so crucial for the exact purpose that you mentioned, making sure that everybody's aligned. But sometimes we feel, and that's something that we're struggling and we're focusing a lot with the members in our community, is to have people open up to their challenges and open up to the other team members as to where things don't really work properly. And so far, that's where we've seen that it's kind of the most challenging part of basically finding a solid stand-up process or a solid stand-up delivery, is just having developers come and open up to the problems they're facing and sharing that with the rest of the team.
So I'm going to suggest changing the three questions just slightly. So what I will ask, team after team after team, I ask, okay, so what are the three questions? And they always get the third one right. It's what's standing in my way. But the first two questions, almost inevitably, the answer will be, what did I do yesterday and what am I going to do tomorrow? And what I'm going to suggest to you is you change those slightly to say, what did I accomplish yesterday? And what am I going to accomplish by tomorrow? And that changes, and it's subtle, But when I walk into stand-ups all the time, I see somebody saying, well, I worked on the blah, blah subsystem yesterday, and I'm going to keep working on that blah, blah subsystem, tomorrow and probably for the next 3 days. And what we're not doing is we're not signaling the rest of our team on where we're at. We're not giving them any information on how we're actually doing and accomplishing. Actually, I accomplished this part of working on that subsystem yesterday, and I'm going to accomplish this additional part by tomorrow. That's an intention, and it's so different. Even though it's subtle, it's just so different. And then to the other part of what you're saying, Sebastian, is it really comes around to culture and creating that sense of psychological safety. That you can share where you're at and how you're doing, even if it's not going well, and your teammates will have your back, and that's up to us as managers to create that environment in which that thrives.